I am joined by someone who has known Judge Kavanaugh for more than a decade. Jennifer Mascott clerked for Kavanaugh during his first year on the U.S. Court of Appeals in 2006. She also clerked for Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Today, she is an assistant professor at George Mason University Law School. Welcome to the NewsHour. Thank you for being here. You just heard what Congresswoman Eshoo said, that she listened for an hour and a half to Professor Blasey Ford, and she believed her.
Well, yes, this is a very challenging set of circumstances, and obviously everybody should be listened to and treated with dignity and respect. You know, my personal knowledge and experience obviously is with Judge Kavanaugh, and as you've mentioned, I've known him for 12 years, him and his family, worked for him his first year on the bench. And during that entire time I've known him, he has acted with the utmost character and integrity, transparent, a wonderful jurist. He said many people during the process, before and after the latest development come forward and testify to his character. And also my understanding is he has since given a statement to Chairman Grassley under penalty of perjury, categorically denying the accusations. And you know, if everything I know of him, these accusations are flatly inconsistent with his character.
Have you spoken with him since these allegations surfaced?
Well, I'm not going to be able to talk about personal conversations and interaction with the judge. What I can tell you is that over the years, of course, I worked for him 12 years ago, and then he's maintained a mentor, a close contact, somebody that I go to for professional advice. He and Mrs. Kavanaugh annually get together with all of the law clerks and are just a wonderful supportive mechanism for us and for the many students that he's taught over the years.
When you heard this allegation, what was your reaction?
Well, when I heard the allegation, the immediate reaction that I had was just that it sounded the opposite of everything that I know about Judge Kavanaugh and his character and what I've seen from him over the years. And I also wondered and questioned why it was coming up now in the process. And obviously, again, you know, it's important, it needs to be heard. Everybody needs to have a chance to be listened to and treated with absolute dignity and respect. At the same time, Judge Kavanaugh, I believe, went through more than 30 hours of questioning at his hearings. I think he had 1,300 written questions that he answered. My understanding is he had a lot of private meetings with senators, and so it's also challenging, it would seem, from that perspective, you know, to come up and have to answer questions about this now after the fact rather than them being posed earlier or in more of a private setting.
You've known him, as you said, for a dozen years. You obviously weren't, and don't say that you knew him when he was that young, 17 years old, in high school. So what makes you, are you convinced that it couldn't have happened? I mean, how do you look upon this?
So from everything I know of Judge Kavanaugh's character for 12 years, it's flatly inconsistent with everything that I know of him. Also, as you know, 65 women who did know him around the time of high school years have also come forward in a letter talking to his character at that time. So he's had people throughout the process, early on in July, now later in September, come forward from all walks of life, from all different political and ideological persuasions, testifying to his character. It's consistently been a comment about his fairness, his even-handedness, his transparency. You know, he's a fantastic public servant, community leader, written over 300 opinions on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. I joined a letter of his female law clerks, many of them early on in the process, and stand behind, you know, that support.
And in your conversations with him over the years, has he talked about his high school years at all? Has he made reference to Georgetown Prep or his high school years?
Well, I personally have not had occasion to discuss that with the judge. We've talked about the law, we've talked about law school, we've talked about my career, you know, we've talked about case law, talked about his family.
Right. If Jennifer Mascott, if it now looks as if Professor Blasey Ford is going to testify in some form, we don't know yet the details next week, how will you judge what she says? I mean, you, as someone who knows the law, I mean, how do you, or as a human being watching all this, how will you judge whether she is credible or not?
Well, I think at this point in the process, you know, President Trump nominated Judge Kavanaugh and, you know, is standing behind his nomination. And now this is really with the Senate. The Senate will listen to both sides. I think so far has been tried to be very fair in the process, is my understanding. And we'll have to look and weigh each senator, you know, listening to people's story. But Judge Kavanaugh's already come forward. He's categorically denied these, and I trust that he'll have an opportunity to clear his name.
Do you think either Judge Kavanaugh or Professor Blasey Ford should be given the benefit of the doubt here?
Well, I think that both parties should have a chance to be treated with utmost respect and listened to. And I think the senators so far, from what I can tell and know, have really tried to make this a fair process. And I trust that they'll continue to do that and trust their judgment in considering this confirmation process.
Jennifer Mascott, who is a professor at George Mason School of Law, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.